Immorality, anti-Semitism, and replacement theology have rendered much of Christianity as unbiblical, mystic, and on the road to extinction. Welcome to the Heartland Connection, where we equip Christians to walk in the truth of God's Word, to support the land and people of Israel, and to stand boldly in their faith. I have personally learned so much about God and His Word from our Jewish friends here in Israel, and I'm honored to have my good Orthodox Jewish friend joining me here on the program every week. Rabbi Yonadav Zar will be sharing great insights into the Torah from a Jewish perspective. So welcome, Rabbi Yonadav Zar. It's good to have you this morning.
Shalom. Boker tov. Good morning.
All right, so we're going to jump right into the Torah portion. This week's portion is Parashat Toldot, which means Descendants, and really, really amazing portion. Looking forward to digging into it today. So our first question that I have for you, Rabbi Yonadav, is if we look back through what the territory we've covered so far in the Bible, we see the story of Abraham and Sarah, and they're wanting to have a baby, and then but they're waiting and they don't have a son. So finally they bring Hagar into the picture, and they have Ishmael, and it almost, on the one hand, it looks like that they kind of took matters into their own hands, and that they ended up, having Ishmael, and then so in some ways maybe it makes sense that this Ishmael was not supposed to be the heir. He was not supposed to be the son that the covenant was passed on to, but that it was supposed to be from Abraham and Sarah, and then so Yitzchak, Isaac, was supposed to be the one to carry on the movement that Abraham had started. But now in this week's portion, we have Jacob and Esau come into the picture, and here we have twins who God brings two people into the picture. And so it's not, it may be a little bit less clear, like it definitely wasn't a mistake. Like God brought this life into the world. He enabled them, and he tells them right from the beginning that these are going to be two different nations, two different peoples, and prophesies to them. So I guess my question is for you, Rabbi Yonadav, can you give us some understanding on why you think that God did it this way? Why did He create two opposites, two opposing things? Like, why couldn't He have just had, Isaac and then Jacob, and then brought Israel, into the world, and brought redemption to the world just through that? Why did there have to be twins here? Why did there have to be an opposing side that would have to come in and oppose Jacob and do that? And why did God choose to do it this way?
Okay, that's a great question, because the assumption is that was wrong, mistake. And we can ask ourselves, why did God created 70 nations at all? Mm-hmm. But more than that question, we can ask, why did God created this world? It was so complex before, without such little creatures that doing wrong and sins, mistakes all the time. Why? It was so great without this world. So we have to change our look, because we can't think always when we confront problems, we can't think always that it's wrong. No, opposite. This is our mission, to confront the problems, to confront the challenges. So did Abraham and Sarah do mistake when they enter Hagar to their house and gave birth to Ishmael? No, they did not. That was the right thing to do. Think about the world with all the pagans without Ishmael. Did it was better or worse? So that's right. It's very complicated to have Ishmael, but this is opportunity for a improvement. This is, it's like a level between Israel and the rest of the nations. And the same answer like that on Esau, because Esau was closer to Israel than the rest of the nations. And if we learn history, we can recognize that these two peoples, Esau and Ishmael, were the first nations to accept the idea of one God. So that was a promotion to have these two people. So it's very important principle. We have challenges. We want to be idealistic, but we have to remember that the world is not idealistic. For idealistic, God could give up this world. No, he wanted this world. He wanted us to confront the challenges. So that's right. It was a real challenge to have Ishmael and another real challenge to have Esau. But in the whole picture, it was better to have them than they weren't. And of course, it's a work for us. We have to work. We have to work hard to bring them all to the right path.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that without Ishmael and Esau, like there wasn't. It's like one part of what you're saying is that they give pressure to the Jewish people and to Jacob and his descendants in order to make them become what they need to be. Is that part of it? That they're in their walking away from God, or even like today we see, and throughout history we see a lot of pressure towards the Jewish people and of pushing, and like is that part of God's plan that the Jewish people need these two peoples working together to help bring the Jewish people to the right place in order to help them come to the place that God wants them in order to bring redemption to the world? Like, are you saying that the opposition is needed in order for there to be some sort of push to help go in the right direction? Is that part of it?
I'm not sure exactly what the details of this process, but I can understand that if we have to bring the blessed to all the world, all the nations, and there are nations that are closer in their history, in their origins. So maybe it's supposed to help us. Of course, they can support, they can disturb, but it's opportunity to come closer and to help, and on the other hand, like we said, if we don't fulfill our mission, so they can oppose us, press us. So it's not Israel and the rest of the world. It's like there is a wisdom that Israel is like heart in the body of the nations. So in the body there are parts that are closer to the heart, and there are parts that are far. So like that in the nations. And we want to bring the blessed to all of the nations. And this is challenge to find the ways to the hearts of the nations to teach and to bring them closer to the right faith in God and the right deeds to fix the situation.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess I was just thinking that this is kind of an important point, because as we're trying to replacement theology within Christianity, and I feel like that's a big thing that God has like called me to do, is to help people understand why that is wrong and to come and support the Jewish people. Because in the past, in the history, some Christians have said, "Oh, we have to be that opposition to the Jewish people. We have to, put them in their place, and we have to." And so I kind of wanted to clarify a little bit, because I wanted to say that I think, from your perspective, it's good for you to see it that, if you guys misbehave, then, or whatever, if you don't follow God's commandments, then the nations come in. But I think from our perspective, we need to see it as it's our job to encourage and bless Israel and to help all of the Jewish people to follow God and His Torah and His ways, and that's what's going to bring global redemption. So I think maybe it's a little bit different perspective that you need to have than what we need to have, maybe, in that I think we need to be very, very careful as people from the nations, not to feel like, because it's happened, unfortunately, in the past, where Christians have said, "Oh, the Jewish people aren't following God, and we have to be the ones." And I think obviously that was very wrong, and not something that I feel like. And I want to encourage the people from the nations and the Christian people to say, "Look, the God has given the Jewish people an opportunity to bring light to the world, and so we need to be the ones coming in and supporting and encouraging them to yes, study the Bible, follow after God, and encouraging, and not not being opposition or hurting, but encouraging and blessing, especially now when we have people like you, Rabbi Yonadav, not definitely not justifying anything that happened in the past, but I'm just saying we have a huge opportunity now with people like you who are here in the heartland of Israel, who are following God's ways right from the Torah. I think it's a huge opportunity for us from the nations to say, yes, go for it, do it. We support you. We want to see you settling the land and studying and having a yeshiva here in Har Bracha and teaching and doing those things. I think it's a huge opportunity for us from the nations to say, yes, go for it. We support this. You guys do that, and then we'll see the light coming out from Israel, like what we have experienced, and we can embrace that and touch that. So I thought that was kind of a good point to bring out here in this thing of, yes, there are two opposing sides, but there are different levels, and it, like you said, can be very complex. But I think that the best place for us as the nations to be is undergirding and blessing and serving and coming in and saying, you guys can do this, go for it, and encouraging and seeing that happen like we're seeing in today's time is such an exciting thing. Do you have any thoughts on that before we go to the next question?
I think that about the replacement theology, if we can dig in that theology and find that even while replacement theology, Christians believe that the salvation is depend on the Jews that will accept Christianity. So that means that they don't really believe in replacement theology. They care about the Jewish people. If there was replacement, what do you care about the Jews? Leave them to believe in what they want, and you are the one that has to be in the right way. But they don't care about billions of people, what they believe. They care about such little people that they say that lost his role in the history, but yet they say that it depends on him the salvation, that they will believe the right way. Okay, they think that the right way is Christianity, but we can learn that the charge, the responsible is on us. Even Christians believe that we are responsible for the salvation. Even they think in one way, but the principle that we have to bring salvation to the world, even one who believes in respect to replacement theology. So it's like interior contradiction that wait all the generations to solve, to be solved. And
yeah, it's
so I think.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I think it's a very interesting point because, yeah, it's very interesting, like you're saying, that most Christians believe that the ones that believe in the replacement theology, they believe that they're now the people of God, and the Jewish people have been left behind. They're forsaken now because they disobeyed or whatever their reason is, and so they believe that that now they are the chosen ones, and the Jewish people are no longer the chosen ones. But like you said, so what I'm understanding you to say is that, but they still believe that Messiah is going to come to Israel, and that the Jewish people have to believe in him in order for the whole world to be saved. So really, even the replacement theology people are still depending upon the Jewish people to believe in him in order for salvation to come to the world. So it's a very interesting point. And because, like you said, we're still, even though they believe that they're God's chosen, they believe that Israel will be chosen again. So yeah, it's very interesting theology for sure. And just being here in Israel and seeing you guys' heart in wanting to see the Messiah come as well. I think that's been a very obviously it's a very sensitive subject, and it's caused so much horrific things in the past. It's a little bit even hard to talk about. And not necessarily something we want to dive into too deep on this discussion. We're mainly digging into the Torah and moral principles, but I think it's a very significant point to say that we are looking for a Messiah to come, and you guys are also looking for a Messiah to come and bring peace and redemption to the world. But I think what I want to say is, to us as Christians, I think we need to really take a look at who is the Messiah. Does he fit into what the Torah describes and what the prophets describe the Messiah being? And is that what we're looking for? And I think with a lot of Christianity, even though they would say, like you said, that he's going to come to the Jewish people and the Jewish people are going to see him and recognize him and all that, they're actually not looking for a very Jewish Messiah. They're looking for a very Christian, anti-Torah thing in a Messiah, but that's not what the Scriptures talk about. The Scriptures talk of a Messiah coming that is the culmination and is the essence of fulfilling the Torah and bringing redemption in this thing. So I think I don't know. Again, I'm very much speaking to Christians here. I don't know how much Rabbi Yonadav can say, yes, I agree with that or whatever, but for the Christians, I think it's very important for us to get back to the Torah so that when Messiah comes, we can recognize that, okay, yes, this is him, and we can follow him and see that he's actually a Jewish, Torah-keeping, like Orthodox type of person who's going to follow the Torah and the commands of God. I think most Christians won't recognize the Messiah when he comes because they're not looking for that. And so I think it's very important for us to change our perspective and realize what the Messiah is going to look like when he comes here. I think it's a very, very important point for redemption that's coming. All right, so our next question. I thought it was really interesting in reading in the last couple portions. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we had the story of Abraham making a oath and swearing a peace agreement with the Philistines. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then in this week's portion, we have Isaac swearing a oath and a peace agreement with the Philistines. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wait, why, how could this be a good thing? Like, God promised this land to Abraham and his descendants. Why would they swear an oath of peace with these people when eventually they're supposed to be, out of the land, and the Jewish people are supposed to take hold of the land? And even in Exodus 23 and Deuteronomy, it talks about, it says specifically, you should make no covenant with the people when you come into the land. And so I'm reading that going, wait, what is this? Is this okay? And then even now in modern times, we have, this peace agreement with the UAE and the Abraham Accords and stuff happening today. And part of me is like, oh, I don't know if is this a good thing? I'm not sure what's going on here. So Rabbi Yonadav, can you give us a little bit of insight into this? Was this a good thing for Abraham and Yitzchak to swear an oath of peace agreement with the Philistines?
Okay. We can say again, this is complicated. Mm-hmm. And I want to answer in two levels. Okay. First level is that God promised them they will inherit the land, but they did not yet. So now they have some generations that the nations will be here, and it's not against God's plan. So meantime, it's okay. They are here, and they are supposed to be here according to God. Mm-hmm. This is in first level to solve the contradiction between the God promise and they behave, they deeds. But I want to answer in another level too. They want this oath. They want to be in good relationship with the nations. Even if we have times, we have generations that we have to fight, we have to be two sides of a fight. We don't want it. We want to be in peace. So if they can give the peace a place in the reality, they will choose it. They will choose to make peace. They want it. They not always can't. They not always can do peace, but make peace. But when they can, they want it. Mm-hmm. So it's very important. Even if there was a mistake in this oath, but the principle that we want, and sometimes we even wrong towards the peace, because it's very deep in our soul to make peace. Mm. And about our time and the peace agreement, I think if we don't give up our land in this peace agreement, so it's great. Mm-hmm. We want peace, and if they recognize our rights here and they want to be in peace with us, that's great. I prefer all the nations be in this position. Mm-hmm. We want peace. I don't know if there was even one war in the history time that we decided to fight without threaten on us. Mm-hmm. We don't want wars. Mm-hmm. We want peace. Mm-hmm. Not in any price of peace. Mm-hmm. Not to leave the word of God for doing peace. But if we can make peace, of course we want it. In the principle of making peace, It's not wrong. It's not mistake. It's complicated sometimes in the details, but the principle is very simple. We want to bring the blessed to all the nations. God told Abraham, he will bless one who bless him, he will curse one who curse him. So we want to bring the blessed, and if someone wants to make peace with us, of course, he wants to bless us. So God will bless him.
Yeah, that's really good. And I can see through that why people are so excited about the modern things. They're like, wow, we actually had an opportunity to have some level, even though there are some pieces to it that are not good. They're saying, oh, this is only if we can make a Palestinian state. And obviously, like you said, if that is some sort of like part of the agreement, then you can't do that. You're not going to give up the land. But if there's any opportunity to have peace, then, and I can see that everybody, like all the Israelis that I've talked to about that, they're just so happy that, wow, we can have peace with our neighboring country. And that's very, very exciting and good. Okay, so we have one last question for you, Rabbi Yonadav. In this week's Torah portion, we have Jacob, and every time I read through it, it's a little bit of a question to me. We see him, and it seems like he's kind of being a little bit of a trickster. He's like kind of deceptive. He's taking his brother's birthright when he's helpless. He's like, it seems like he's like starving or something, and he makes him give him his birthright before he gives him the food. And then he does all this trickery, putting the skin on his arms, and like it part of it's like, this doesn't seem very honest. It doesn't seem very like not integrity happening here. Like what's going on here? Was this right? Was this the right thing to do for Jacob? And what can we learn from this? What can we learn from reading this story and seeing how all these things happened? What's your perspective on that? Was this the right thing for Jacob to do, to be kind of a little bit deceptive in all these things?
Okay, our questions today and the answers are beginning same way. This is complicated. We are dealing with the reality, with the world. So that's very bad, the way Yaakov treat this situation. But what was the option? That Esau will accept the bless? That's worse. So he had to choose between the bad and the worse. He had to choose. And it's not that he will not pay price on his choice. He will pay. But he had to choose between two options. Both of them problematic. So we have to remember it. In our life, we have to make choices. And not always, let's say, in our reality, never we have the idealistic option. It's always choice between two complicated options. And if we say, no, I'm idealistic, I will not choose option that is not ideally. So, okay, so you choose in your a passive choice, you choose the worst option. No, you can't run off a choice. Be active. You have to think about the situation and find the less problematic solution and choose and do it and try hard to do it like it was the best option. Because you can't promote the world if you want to be clean. I'll do just the perfect solution. No. So the world will stay in his situation. You don't want it. You want to fix. It's hard. It's not easy to do it. You know, we always confront such situations that we want to fix, we want to promote, and we know that it's not perfect. There are problems. But we say, okay, so we will do it, and we will try to improve it with the problems. We will try. So Yaakov was in this situation. He had twin, and a very problematic twin. And he had, first of all, to keep the tools, the skills in his side to fix the wall, and yet to find a way later to help Esau to come to the right way. And in the Midrash, the wise man told us that this behavior of Yaakov brought on us troubles in history. But what could he do?
It's the best option. Wow, that's really good. Good explanation there. I wish we had more time to dig into it even more, but it looks like we're running out of time here. So thank you so much, Rabbi Yonadav, for sharing these insights. Such a blessing to be able to study with you every week and to share this with the world. So thank you for sharing with us. And thank you guys for listening. Please, if you've got something out of today's Torah study, please share this with your friends and family and send us feedback. You can email me at zach@hayuvel.com. It's ZAC@hayuvel.com. Let us know what you guys are thinking about, what we're sharing. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have questions for an upcoming Torah portion, feel free to send those in and we can talk about those. But thank you so much for listening. May God bless you as you continue embracing the everlasting truths of God's holy word. And Shabbat Shalom from the beautiful, exceedingly good land of Israel.